Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm Srini with Glassdoor Platform Infrastructure team at Indeed. Although I'm the only one presenting today, here's a picture of my team who's behind CI/CD and infra at Glassdoor. That's Andy, Ben, Will, and Shalini. A few of the folks might be hanging out in that corner, so save your tough questions for them. Now that you know about us, I want to tell you about the company we represent, Glassdoor. Our mission is to make work-life better together. We are probably known for anonymous employee reviews and salary information, but we are much more than that. We have evolved to be a community app with anonymous workplace conversations as well. I've also added some stat on our user traffic, volume of user-generated content, and number of employer profiles registered. All right. Moving on, what's our setup like? I want to give you a brief overview on what Glassdoor infrastructure is like. We are a Kubernetes first environment. Majority of our apps do get deployed to Kubernetes. I'm sure everyone in the audience here are using Kubernetes in some form as part of their infrastructure. Also, we developed a self-serve platform which lets our engineers to create, manage, and deploy apps to a cluster from GitLab. What that means is our engineers can request, change resources like CPU, memory, number of replicas that they need to run our Kubernetes cluster from GitLab CI YAML files. Not just that, all our observability needs are met with Datadog, obviously why I'm here today. And last but not the least, as I showed you in the earlier slide, I got a fantastic team to support this with. Everything worked great. The infrastructure worked, the tooling fit, and we are confident in our setup. But not until we got a message from our vice president saying, why is our infrastructure cost so high? That was a turning point for us. As much as we loved having a self-serve platform, which gave us flexibility and more control, but it came with rising costs. Yes, our AWS Kubernetes and Datadog cost was going up. We started seeing the number of nodes in our cluster were increasing. We did not find a good way to know where these costs are coming from. Why is our cluster size increasing? Nor we did have a way to translate those costs back to our service owners and tenants who are using our infrastructure. One thing was clear, our cluster was highly over-provisioned and not utilized as much as we like to have. Looking at what we missed, the message from our vice president was clear. It was not just a heads up, it was time for action. The very first thing the team and I did was to identify a cluster cost insight tool that gives us insights not just to us, but also to our engineers. That's when we partnered with Datadog to start sending our Kubernetes metrics to Datadog Cloud Cost. Second, we committed to ourselves saying that this will never be a one-time fix. We wanted to continue to improve and iterate. Third, we want to educate, empower our engineers with a cluster cost insight tool that gives them visibility to the service that they run on the infra and know how much it costs to run on infra. Most importantly, we want to drive this and use this opportunity to introduce a culture of shared cost ownership model. We figured it's best to do our homework first before calling in our engineers for help. As you could see in the graph here, when we started this journey almost a year back, our utilization in terms of CPU was 15%. And we looked into Datadog to understand our usage distribution across the board to see if there's an opportunity for us to reset some of our defaults in Java, Node.js, and Python, all the runtime that we have in our infrastructure. Then also we decided, let's change some of our autoscaler configurations. We had pretty bad configurations. For example, we had daemon sets that are holding back nodes just because it had local volumes attached. That didn't sound well to us. Maybe we thought, well, let's change things a little more. we wanted to try new autoscaler. We switched from cluster autoscaler to Carpenter, which did see some improvements, gave us a lot of flexibility in how we want to consolidate, how we want to improve our resource utilization across our cluster. Also, we started experimenting with some of bin packing strategies to move away from least allocated to most allocated to see if we can accommodate more pods and would that be more beneficial in terms of resource utilization. As you can see in the graph, this is a journey we have been taking slow, and I want to iterate and validate every changes that we move across. Make sure that we measure the impact and understand the trade-offs. It's not always about the cost. At the same time, you want to make sure that your performance needs are met. All right. We had some great performance improvements with changing our cluster autoscaler configurations, or using Carpenter, and even resetting some of our default resource configurations. But however, after a certain point, the improvements stalled. You know why? If you recollect one of my earlier slides where I said we gave the flexibility to our developers, where they can change resources like CPU and memory and set how many replicas they want. Wasn't that a great idea? So we started leveraging Datadog to see if we can come up with a way to showcase our engineers how much their utilization looks like. So that's when we partnered with our DevX team, who helped us to introduce workflows within CI/CD, which gives reminders to our folks when they deploy saying, hey, your utilization is 6.9%. You might want to consider tuning them. And we started nudging them towards dashboards in Datadog to see what does their utilization look like and where they have opportunities to improve. Naturally, questions did come up. What is the right size? How many CPUs to use? What's the memory to set? So we supported our team with workshops within Datadog, use training materials and documentation to make sure our team is more comfortable in right sizing them. Once our team stepped up, we started unlocking those benefits. Here's the best part about that. We achieved a 35% in increase of CPU utilization across our clusters, which means our node count got reduced by 15%. And obviously, it came with a sweet bonus of 35% in cost savings across our environments, which means happy boss, happy work life, which exactly ties to Glassdoor's mission of making work life better. It started all with us in infrastructure builds. Not just that, most importantly, we introduce a culture of a shared ownership. So it's not a one-way street. It's not just the platform team must own. Everybody should know what they're running in the infrastructure and know how much it costs, especially at this economic situation. And we started this journey out for saving costs, but we ended up enabling us with more budget for adopting new tools. So where do we go from here? Definitely, we're not satisfied. We want to improve. So here are the next steps that we are looking to do. We want to move away from those reminders in CI/CD workflows and automate with pull request workflows that gives right-sizing recommendations to our team so that they can review and deploy. Second, now that Datadog is introduced in autoscaler, we want to do a POC with them and see if we can drive more value in dynamically resizing our cluster and resources and workloads. Third, it's been on my personal wish list for so long. We want to use SCADA for custom metric scheduling for applications that are not CPU and memory driven. Last, we want to advocate for Graviton instances, which AWS promises to have more savings and performance gain. So we want to strive to move towards that. With that, thank you. If you have any questions or want to share your experience, please do join me and Danny in the afternoon session. Thank you.